Hey there, listeners. You may be noticing that this episode is not standard length and that the title is a little bit inconsistent with our regular episodes. Well, that's because, as per the title states, I'm calling in sick this week. After 4.5 years of never missing an episode through illnesses, through vacations, including a month-long trip in Europe, I figure hopefully that has garnered enough latitude from you listeners to allow you to say, all right, Bryce, it's okay. Go ahead and take a week off sick. Luckily, I got checked out, and it is not strep throat. That is awesome. That means it's just viral, which means that I have to let it run its course. So we're going to be back with a regular episode next week, where I will be feeling a lot better, but I will sound a lot worse, and I can guarantee you that because it's only just now beginning to move into my lungs today. But I haven't been completely silent over on this end for all of you to know. If you're following along with the McKenna Denson and Mike Norton scandal and expose that's happening right now, Colleen invited me on to Mormon Happy Hour along with 2 other panelists to talk about the entire issue. And we ended up recording about 3 hours worth. That is going to be going up on the Mormon Happy Hour Patreon feed, probably around the same time that this airs on your regular feed. And it will be going up on the Mormon Happy Hour regular feed in probably the next day or 2. So be watching out for that if that's something that you're following along with and you want to hear our take on the issue. Also, what we have coming up is an announcement. June 11th, we're going to do our next Nemo Home Evening. This is a hangout for patrons of the show. We have a very special guest lined up. What we're going to do is an AMA with Andrew Torres, co-host of the co-host of the Opening Arguments podcast and proprietor of the law offices of P. Andrew Torres. And what he is going to help us navigate is some Mormon politics and Mormon legal issues. So I have a few questions prepared for him that I'm going to field. And on Monday after this airs, it's going to be Monday, June 3rd, I'm going to be posting up a thread on the Patreon page for all of the patrons to vote and to voice their questions. Any questions you might have to Andrew Torres about the legal sphere of the Mormon Church, that's where they're going to go. And then I'm going to propose those questions to Andrew when he's on the panel. We're probably going to kick that off on, once again, Tuesday, June 11th, probably 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll have more details next week on the exact timing of it. So if you are a patron, you get to join in the actual hangout and come hang out and, ask questions directly to Andrew and to myself and speak directly to us and just spend time hanging out on the panel with us. Otherwise, you can catch it after it airs on the Patreon page or on the YouTube channel for everybody. That's not just for patrons. But of course, patrons have access to adding their questions to the AMA for Andrew Torres. So be looking forward to that once again, June 11th, probably starting at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So also wanted to let everyone know that, patrons of this show, if you are keeping up on your patron feed, you'll notice that on Tuesday, just 2 days ago, I aired the final reading of John C. Bennett's History of the Saints. Luckily, I was able to do that when I had a fever, but when my voice still hadn't turned to hell like you're hearing right now. So if you are a patron supporter, I did end up charging for that episode because I'm not charging for this episode. So basically that episode, that final reading of John C. Bennett's book, I'm basically treating it as this week's episode, and I'm not charging you guys for this episode that you're listening to right now. If any of you have an issue with that because, you don't want to be charged for an episode that's not the regular historical timeline, please let me know. I'd be happy to refund you. But otherwise, I think that is it for today. Be sure to, if you are a supporter at patreon.com, be sure you're signed up for the Patreon exclusive feed. You get a ton of extra content over there, like the Patreon exclusive hangouts, like the Nemo Book Club, and like talking to missionaries and everything else, all of the other patron exclusive content, as well as extended editions of episodes. So with all of that, I just want to say I'm sorry that I'm not feeling well enough to get the podcast episode up this week. This podcast is a whole assembly line. And if something happens to throw a wrench in those cogs, like me not being able to emerge from my bed for 2 days straight, then everything just turns to hell pretty quickly. So that's what happened. And we all kind of have to deal with the outcome of that. So very sorry, but like I said, I promise I'll be back next week feeling a lot better, but sounding a lot worse. So thanks everybody so much for tuning in, and take care.